Oh, hello. Lovely to see you. How are you? What a beautiful day it is. Can you hear the birds singing? You must wonder what I'm doing out here with all this kit and sticks and funny things and a big rucksack on my back. Well, I am preparing with Mr. Blackwell for a very long trek this summer. Come closer and I'll tell you all about it.
Have you ever done something really hard? Did you manage to do it straight away, or did you need to practice quite a bit? Maybe you learnt to do something difficult in maths, play an instrument, or perhaps do some scratch coding. 2 years ago, Mr. Blackwell and I wanted to do something we would have to work really hard to prepare for. We would walk a long way each day and live in a tent for 12 days in Lapland, which is within the Arctic Circle. We had to think carefully about what to take, as we were going to carry it all in our rucksacks. Did I really need my iPad or my hairdryer? No, we needed warm clothes, walking boots, a tent, sleeping bags, food. Here are all the things I packed in my rucksack. We also needed to think positively, such as, this is going to be really hard, but I can do it. Just like persevering Pearl. What messages do you tell yourself before you try something hard? At the end of all our preparation and training, we finally arrived at the starting point for our walk. We felt very excited as we set off on that first day, but only a few hours later came the first challenge. It had rained so much that the river had overflowed into the path. We looked at the map to find another way to go, but this was the only way. I was quite nervous and scared. We knew the water wasn't very deep, but it was flowing fast, so what if I slipped? I thought of the bear hunt story. We can't go over it, we can't go under it. Oh no, we've got to go through it. Splash, splosh. So through it we went. For the first few days, the heavy rain just didn't stop. The water seeped in through our coats and we got wet, cold and very tired. At night it was hard not to have a comfy bed to sleep in. Instead, we had to put up our tent, make supper and finally crawl exhausted into our sleeping bags. If we were lucky, we would find some soft heather or moss to put the tent up on. But at other times, the ground was hard, bumpy and sloping underneath us, and it wasn't easy to sleep. Thankfully, the tent always kept us dry, although sometimes we could hear the pouring rain and strong wind howling outside the tent.
Hello.
Hiya!
What's the weather like?
It's torrential rain. It's very, 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 very wet.
We walked through ancient forests and waded over fast-flowing rivers. One day was especially difficult. We had walked all day and had planned where to put the tent up. But when we got there, the lake and river had dried up and there was no water to cook with or drink. So we had no choice but to walk on, and it took us another 3 hours to find a spot to camp in, with a small river nearby. That day, we learnt to fill up our water supplies whenever we could. I also learnt that even when I thought I was too tired to walk, I still had some energy left.
This, I have to say, is the hardest thing I have ever done, ever. We've just been down at the most beautiful fall. Can't see, can we? That shows my sweat. the most beautiful fall, Rävfallet. But now we're heading up to the fell, or the fjäll, which means straight after our delicious nut break, we're having to climb 450 metres, and we filled up our waters as well, so we both got 2 kilos of water, 2 litres, plus a 750 bottle full, just to make sure we don't run out.
Now, I love a hot bubble bath to relax in. But this was another one of our challenges. No baths or showers, no water from a tap, just freezing cold water in the river to wash in, like this one. I can assure you that we were fully wide awake after our bracing morning wash. I did shriek and squeal a few times as I stepped into the icy water. The birds must have wondered what was going on. Oh yes, and there were, of course, no toilets. So, no hot water. But one night we managed to find enough dry wood to make a campfire, although it took quite a long time to light it. That day we had walked a long way in the cold wind, and we felt very grateful for the cosy warmth the fire gave us. Each day when we had taken the tent down and enjoyed our delicious warm porridge and a strong cup of coffee, we packed our rucksacks and set off again. My rucksack was very heavy, 20 kilos if you're interested. Even getting it on my back had to be done with determination. Have you ever had insects buzzing around you and around your face? They're very annoying, aren't they? Or have you been bitten by an insect leaving an itchy red mark on your skin? Well, I'm afraid the Arctic Circle is full of mosquitoes during the summer, and this posed us with a huge challenge. They will find any inch of bare skin you have. This is how they survive. We covered up as much of our bodies as we possibly could, sometimes even our heads and faces. One mosquito even landed in my porridge. I'm pleased to say I didn't eat it. Being in the Arctic wilderness meant we were a long way from anywhere, and there was no internet or mobile phone signal. But this really gave me a sense of peace. I had space and time to think my own thoughts, and being outdoors for 2 weeks in the beautiful wilderness was just amazing. I wanted to stop to admire it all the time. I took lots of photographs, but it wasn't easy to get back up after taking those photos with that heavy rucksack on. It is so important to respect and care for nature. We always made sure we left the countryside as we found it, with no trace of us anywhere. The wilderness was so unspoilt and clean. We could drink refreshing water straight from the crystal clear river. Definitely not something we do in Oxford. There is lots of wildlife in the Arctic Circle, but many animals are shy and stay away from people, such as the Arctic fox, wolf, wolverine, bear and lynx. So we didn't see any of these. We did see this paw print in the mud. We think this was from a wolf. And we sometimes heard crying or howling sounds in the middle of the night and wondered which animal was making that sound. We saw and heard many different birds and hundreds of reindeer and some beautiful reindeer droppings. And look what I found on the hillside. Reindeer shed their antlers every year, and I was so excited to find these. I even brought them back to Oxford as a memory of our trip. Now, I confess I love my food, So eating our meals and snacks was always a highlight for me. Our meals were packets of food which had been dried to make it lighter. To prepare it, we simply poured boiling water over it, resealed it, and left it for 10 minutes to rehydrate. I know it doesn't look very tasty, but I can't tell you how delicious these meals are when you are hungry after a strenuous day's walking. And I loved finding wild blueberries to snack on. Sometimes I added them to my porridge. After 2 weeks, we made it to the end of our trek, and I was so proud that I had overcome all the challenges. When you have managed to do something tricky, whether it was something big or small, do remember to celebrate and be proud of your success. Remind yourself what skills you used to get to that goal. Was it perseverance, taking a risk, being curious, aiming high? We definitely celebrated. It was so thrilling to finish our big challenge. But as soon as we had finished, we also started to feel sad that it was all over. And it didn't take long until we started wondering what adventure to do next. So this summer, we are going back to Arctic Sweden for a new, longer and even harder challenge.
And that's why I'm out here in these beautiful woods today, because we're getting ready for our next challenge. I wonder what you might be thinking of doing that is a challenge for you. Something that you will need to be determined for, where you might fail lots of times before managing it. And once you've mastered it, you might have that wonderful sense of achievement. Do come and find me to tell me all about it. I'd love to hear. And thank you for listening to my assembly. I do hope you've enjoyed hearing all about my adventures. There is so much more to tell you, but I better get walking now. Bye for now.